Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of Two Plane Sports. Today, Oklahoma yet again adds another player, 5-star, number one running back in the class, dunking on USC, and pulls out. DeMarco Murray probably catches the biggest fish to date since he's been at Oklahoma and landing Tatum, which seems to have been long anticipated because of all the crystal balls that came in over the last month or so. So we're going to be talking about his commitment, implications of what he can, what does this mean for the 2024 class? What does this mean with Caden Durham? Where is the running back position at? And overall, just talking a little bit of running back. So, but before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, turn the notification bell, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify. And remember, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central, we have a live stream. Earlier this week, if you were in the live stream, we were knocking on the door of 200. So let's start getting up in the 200s. Help us get there. So turn that notification bell on so you do not forget or miss it. So as Brandon always says, this does not suck. Brandon, what do you think?
It doesn't suck. I mean, I think DeMarco Murray obviously did a great job. He's the biggest person to credit, I think, for this recruiting win. But you also got to shout out Skip Johnson in this because Taylor Tatum's a baseball player, and Skip Johnson did a hell of a job in this process too. Beating USC out is a cherry on top for the kid who's very, very good. Kid had over 1,800 yards, 33 rushing touchdowns, number one running back in the class, 5-star player. There's really not much to complain about. It's a huge get. I mean, as you mentioned, I think it's DeMarco Murray's biggest get since being here, and he's got some pretty damn good running backs when you look at Javonte Barnes, Gavin Sawchuk, and those guys. I mean, it's a great day to be a Sooner. I can't wait to watch Taylor Tatum on the field. I think he can be another year one player. Maybe not a guy who starts all the time, but similar to Devon Mitchell, I think he's a guy who's going to play at least rotationally in year one. I think he's that good.
I think that's really high praise, and he is that talented. That running back room is pretty stacked. If he can crack into the starting lineup or even just part of the starting rotation, for running back 1 and 2, it just shows how talented he is because he'll be going up against, when he gets to campus as a freshman, he'll still have Javonte Barnes there, still have Gavin Sawchuk there, Dalen Smothers with a year of experience, Caleb Hicks with a year of experience, and then the incoming freshman is along with him and Xavier Robinson. A lot of running back talent in that room. How it mixes up is going to be interesting once both of these guys, both Taylor Tatum and Xavier Robinson, get to campus. And a potential addition of Caden Durham would just make it unfair. Because if an injury happens, which, knock on wood, it doesn't, but with running backs, it's not uncommon that they might miss a game or two throughout the season. You have running backs that could be RB1s for probably 95% of college football programs, and they're backups, potential starters someday. But you've got a lot of talent in that room. DeMarco Murray definitely did a hell of a job. I would say that the number one guy to credit here, though, is Skip Johnson and the baseball team. And that staff really sold him on. They're the ones that had to modify the schedule. They're the ones that know how to handle two-sport athletes, especially when it comes to a baseball/football player. Because we all know that Kyler Murray was very successful when he did it at Oklahoma. That seemed to be the reason why USC was trending there for a little bit. And Skip Johnson got to talk to him and the family, and now it became Oklahoma really fast, and it's been some time coming, but really since the first crystal ball came in, they just flooded in and nothing's really changed. That narrative hasn't never changed over the last month that USC was going to creep back in. I'm sure some people might have feared that because giving them time, you have to respect the fact that as much as we may hate him, Lincoln Riley still is a really good offensive mind and can use a running back decently, even though he may choose not to sometimes, but he's going to be a threat to at least get these guys to commit to USC and the Trojans.
He might be an offensive mind that's been figured out, though. I'm just going to say that. It's a fact. He has regressed every single season since being a head coach in college football. I don't know about last year because I missed last season. But obviously the Pac-12 is lollygag scheduling and shit. But
I don't want to, defend him, but he does have 3 Heisman Trophy winners, and he just won one last year. I'm just saying. I mean, if that's regression and you win the Heisman Trophy, you have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. I don't know. I mean, but anyway, that's enough about USC. I know, Brandon. I know you absolutely can't stand him. I don't like him either. But you just have to kind of I'm looking at it objectively. But with Taylor Tatum coming into the fold, it seems like this has been a long time coming. This is a huge win. Anytime you get the number 1 player at any position in a class, it's massive. And it's also adding to a position that's already of strength, as you guys have already alluded to. So, I mean, the fact that Oklahoma could do this, you have Xavier Robinson already there. At this point, the only target left is Caden Durham for the running back room. And if Oklahoma doesn't get Caden Durham, I mean, you still feel good about where Oklahoma's at with who's on the roster and, both Robinson and Taylor Tatum coming in. But when you look at Taylor Tatum having over 1,800 yards last year, explosive and everything else, I mean, there's nothing to not like or enjoy. And I think we talked about it on our Tuesday live stream. As soon as he, commits, this class for Oklahoma becomes a top 20 class in the recruiting rankings. Just like that. I mean, in the last month, Oklahoma's went from 42 or 44 or whatever they were into a top 20 class now. And having that, and still, this is one of your biggest targets that was still out there, as we talked about on Tuesday. But this is just the first one. I mean, I think we all feel good about where Oklahoma's at with David Stone, Williams-Nwaneri. We feel pretty good about both of those 5 stars. You have both of those 5 stars. I mean, you have 3 5 stars. You're going to probably have a top 5 class, assuming that you fill out with a couple more 4 stars and some 3s. I mean, Oklahoma now with Taylor Tatum being able to beat out USC and the way that everything else is trending, and for not only the 5 stars but some of the higher end 4 stars, Oklahoma is on pace, and it's going to shock some people. This could very well be a top 5 class. I'm not saying, the top 2 or anything. I mean, Georgia's already got 20, 26, 24 commits. I can't remember, but Oklahoma could be a top 5 again. And I don't want people to forget about that and sounding the alarms a month ago. And here we are sitting, on the 21st, feeling pretty darn good.
Well, we had a feeling all along it was going to end up being we said top 10 class at worst, and probably thought it'd be higher. It's always going to be a good class, but next year in June and late May, we're going to be having the same conversation, the same comments, the same everything. It's never going to change. It's going to be a slow start to the 2025 cycle, and the panic button's going to be hit, and Brent Venables can't recruit or whatever, the shit that gets thrown out there, and 3-star U and all that shit. It's going to come back every year. It's going to be a never-ending cycle where we bitch for the first half of the summer, and then in the latter half of the summer, we are all content and happy, and it's all pina coladas and sunshine and rain and all sorts of happy shit. But it's the way she goes. Taylor Tatum has to be the next Adrian Peterson. I've made that comparison before, and only because he is the number 1 running back in the class who picked Oklahoma over USC as his top 2. Adrian Peterson did the same shit a while ago, so I don't make the rules. It's just how it goes. He has to be the next Adrian Peterson, or at least like 75% of Adrian Peterson, which would be good enough for us.
Or he could be his running back coach, DeMarco Murray, who did the exact same thing. Just wasn't the number 1 running back in his recruiting class. But Brandon and I have talked about it. We always compare running backs and like who they kind of look like when they run. I firmly believe, it's been a month since we talked about it, Brandon, but if anything, I hold the belief now more. He looks exactly like DeMarco Murray when he's running the football. And I know you disagree, but it's very, I don't know, he's just good at running the football. I wouldn't say he's like the shiftiest guy or the strongest guy, but he's just good at everything. He's a well-rounded running back.
If he plays like DeMarco, I'll take it too. I mean, this guy's learning for this kid. I mean, I understand that the running back room is very, very talented, but I mean, I think he's a kid who's going to play a little bit year 1. Maybe not even a lot, but those blowout games year 1. Why not throw in the 5-star kid that we want to see play? He's going to get some snaps.
I mean, Javonte Barnes got some snaps. last year, and he flashed, and obviously Gavin Sawchuk had a pretty good Cheez-It pull. So there is potential. When you're that good, it's hard to keep you off the field. But with so much depth in front of him, you would think that he wouldn't get a whole lot outside of maybe 3 or 4 games. Keeping his red shirt and maybe in some cleanup time. But at the end of the day, anytime you land the number 1 running back, a 5-star, that's a massive victory, and it's going to show that while Oklahoma is playing the NIL game, NIL isn't everything, and I think Oklahoma's culture. I think Brent Venables, we talked about on Tuesday's live stream, Jose and I did, that he seems to be implementing his culture, taking ownership in this team, and is getting his guys. And I think Tatum is one of his guys. And I think that's just, this class is becoming, obviously 23 was his guys as well, but this is more so, I feel like 2024, Jose, you've said it, where you have a year and a half, close to 2 years to recruit these kids, and you are now able to compete and go head to head against all the other programs in the country for the top players. And Oklahoma is showing what they can do with the time, and this is just the start. It's not really the start. It's the middle. It's middle of the race right now. How Oklahoma's recruiting. There's still more recruitments and things to close out between now and mid to late August. And I think Oklahoma's going to be north of 20 commits by August, by the end of August, and that's pretty solid. So
yeah, tough to argue with that one.
Yeah. So that's all I've got, unless you guys have something else. Short and sweet. Obviously, we're all excited. Talked about him a lot. I'm just glad that the waiting is over. Brandon?
Taylor Tatum thoughts. Is he the next Adrius Peterson?
Adrius Peterson, yes. Or is he the next DeMarco Murray?
Or is he the next DeMarco Murray? Or is he the next Taylor Tatum?
Ooh. Yes. I will take that. He is the next Taylor Tatum. So anyway, be sure to like, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. And be sure to show up for the Tuesday 8 p.m. Central live streams every Tuesday. We'll see you guys next time.